Namaskaram everybody and happy Deepavali. Bo invites you to the Gita for Yuva series in which we talk about the Gita and have discussions about it. I would personally like to explore more into it and you can now also join it on this occasion. Namaskaram. Welcome to BHOYuva Sadhas series where we continue in chapter 5, Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Now, through the past 5 chapters, Arjuna is still in very doubt and he's not getting to Krishna's exact point. So again he asks, I'm still in doubt because you extolled the greatness of both the path of renunciation, the Sannyasa Yoga, and the performance of action, Karma Yoga. Krishna says, yes, Arjuna, renunciation as well as performance and action both promise to take man to his spiritual goal and provide inner freedom. He says that some of these paths can be provided to one person and the other can do another, but technically they're both the same. They both lead to the one common goal. Krishna continues to say, though, that the ignorant do not basically see these paths as very distinct and separate from each other, but in reality there is really no difference, and this is really only seen by the wise, because both of these paths are intertwined with each other. They still both lead to that same common goal, but throughout each other you will encounter both paths, and technically they're still the same.
यत्सङ्ख्यैः प्राप्यते स्थानम् तद्योगैरपि गम्यते एकं सङ्ख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये इहैव तैर्जितः सर्गो येषां सम्ये स्थितं मनः निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्म तस्मात् ब्रह्माणि ते स्थितः ये हि संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुःखयोनय एव ते आद्यन्तवन्तः कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधः भोक्तारं यज्ञातपसां सर्वलोकमहेश्वरं सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां सन्तिमृच्छति.
So Krishna cites this in a slokam, Yat Sankhyayi Prapyate Sthanam Tadyogairapi Gamyate Ekam Sankhyam Yayogam Cha Yapashyati Sapashyati. Basically says that perfect state, which is attained by the Sankhyas, is reached by the Yoginis as well. So basically they are still all intertwined as one path, and really the wise know this is what he's trying to explain in this slokam. Furthermore, now, since this is a chapter of how to do that renunciation, not just about the renunciation itself, it's about how to get to that point, or like how to give up your stuff in sacrifice. Basically, he says that all the luxuries that you have around you, you have to isolate yourself from everything in the world, and that's when you're going to get that true self-realization. He also continues to say that sticking to any of these, to material objects, getting too attached to them, can lead to your own suffering and eventually fall. So Arjuna says, please explain the spirit of renunciation in more detail. It's becoming very interesting. He says, renunciation is not just mere giving up at the body level, right? Real renunciation comes when one renounces at the mental level also, when you push your limits farther and farther. Basically, never more harboring any desire for the thing renounced. This is born out of intellectual conviction based on discrimination. The ever pure self is the sole master and the only resident living in all physical bodies. And if everything that you see right here has their own separate soul, in reality, those are just, it's all interconnected in that one Atman. The divine self does not ever give or take sin and merit. Thus, the self enjoys serene and undisturbed peace. Between the identification with matter, vasanas clouds the vision of the self, meaning you cannot, well, technically in reality, it means you cannot see the self in more abstract form. But in reality, it's saying that there are these vasanas, these senses, that basically take away that self-realization from you. They block it from being seen from you. That gets you into a whole other world of desires. He says the truth is being very subtle is difficult to be understood by the ordinary man, who is under the impression, due to his ignorance, that he is a physical body equipped with a mind and an intellect. Because, we ourselves, we know about all this stuff. We know that we're supposed to be following this stuff, yet we still don't do it because of our own ignorance, okay? I certainly wouldn't do it, although I'm literally saying it right now. It would be very, very, very hard for me to still take up that path. Basically, what he's saying is that is real sacrifice. You have to go through that path. You have to go through those struggles and difficulties. Once you reach that level, that itself is a form of sacrifice. When knowledge shines forth in all its glory at the bosom of a sage, he realizes that all are the play of the one reality. Basically, every single thing, not just the soul, but literally everything, it's basically just all intertwined in that one God. We see God right now, right, as like an idol. We see him as maybe has blue skin, 4 arms, a big necklace, a shankha maybe, a crown, whatever it is. But and it's not exactly. This is not exactly how it's supposed to be. But when you think about it, think about God as kind of the universe. It doesn't really have an exact shape or form. It doesn't have a gender or anything like that. But it just still contains all of us. It's that kind of supreme. Now, obviously, God is just way more than just the universe. It's everything that exists. So it's very hard to comprehend. Basically, those who perform actions selflessly will ultimately come to that experience of that same infinite bliss. Because once you realize all that stuff, it's the same thing as like a panacea. It's basically the same thing as a cure for all. Basically, knowing everything. That knowing everything will give you that final joy, and there's nothing that can really top that. Because if you know everything, then then there's really nothing that can top that. Basically, the person who does this finds all his happiness and fulfillment in his own tireless efforts at bringing about the enduring welfare of humanity. Basically, not being selfish is basically what it is. You have to get to that point where, like, if you help others, yourself should be happy. You should not expect anything in return. When people do this, well, obviously a lot of people are nice, right? They help out others in the community, and they don't really expect anything in return. But they themselves are like thinking that they like set that mode themselves. They're like, okay, I'm not supposed to expect anything in return, right? Although if they probably accept it, it should be like an automatic thing. It's a manual thing. You should automatically say like, I'm not really expecting anything in return, and that's very, very, very hard for everybody. Meaning like you're doing community service, for example, right? You're doing it out of your own joy. You're not doing it because like people will see you as good or anything. You're not doing it for money. You're not doing it for fame. You're just doing it for completely yourself, right? But also for helping that community. That itself gives you that eternal bliss, right? You're not thinking about all the luxuries and all that stuff with that comes with it. That means that if you're not asking anything for return, it's an automatic self thing. Just do it and then just leave. Your mind doesn't tell you that that technically a lot of people would be doing it, but I'm not doing it. It's just not even present in the mind. It's just gone. So basically, what it's saying, this whole thing is how to get, this whole chapter is about how to get to that renunciation point. What is renunciation itself? And it's not literally just at the body level, as I said before. It's at the mental level. It's not just like sacrifice doesn't just mean putting some ghee in a yajna. I'm saying Om Swaha, Om Swaha, Om Swaha, Om Swaha. It's not literally like that. But at the mental level, you're pushing your limits farther. You're abandoning all the luxuries. You're not using them as much or whatever, right? There's certain stages that you have to go through. Basically, you're trying to understand everything to get to that self-realization is what it is. So basically, the sin, for example, right? Our sin is the one trying to take control of us. But we shouldn't do necessarily let that happen. As I said before, literally everybody on earth knows about this. They know that we're supposed to be doing good things and all these good morals and stuff that we learned like even as far back as kindergarten. It's like very basic principles. We still don't do it due to our own ignorance, right? So basically, the point I'm trying to say here is that just knowing about it, it's not going to do anything. You have to be a follower of it. You have to basically practice it. So that's all for chapter 5. Will join us in chapter 6, which is Dhyana Yoga, the yoga of self-control and meditation. This will basically explain how to like control yourself, how to like just divert yourself from a way. We'll talk about that more next time.